Roque alcoholic. Grateful to be sober today, and glad I came with Doug. And I'm nervous too, and the coffee's strong here, man. Like really strong. I think that's what's adding on to it, you know. I'm glad. I wanna. You're the newcomer, right? Welcome and happy birthday to Lenny. You know, I was telling Doug that, you know, at a meeting we go to, they don't have all the signs up in the wall, and it's kind of not like an AA meeting, I think. You know, that's what I thought to myself, and I was thinking, you know, when I was new, it didn't matter whether they had traditions on the wall, whether they had anything on the wall. I wasn't paying attention. I really didn't care about AA at all, you know. But today's like the most important part of my life, and I want to let you know that if you're new, that I'm not here on a court card, and I'm not punished to be here, and you know that I love coming to AA. You know, that's the best, most important part of my life. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, I got to grow up in AA. You know, I didn't know how to live before I came to AA. Let me see, the night before I got sober was May 31st, 1993. That was the night before, and I was at a friend's house, and so that was Memorial Weekend. I went over there, I ordered pizza, and I said, I'm gonna go get me a beer, and when I came back, the pizza hadn't gone there, and yet I finished my beer already. It was one beer, and I said, well, you know, I'm gonna go back and get another beer, and there was a girl there who was on the program for 7 months, and she started on me, you know, why don't you just not have any beer? You know, why can't you just stay with one? And I was thinking to myself, God, you know, I just want to have one more beer, you know, you get off my back, you know. And it's like, and she just started, you know, they started going on, maybe you can't control it, maybe you're an alcoholic, maybe you're this, and I'm like, hey, and I remember telling them, didn't I order the pizza? And I'm buying here, you know. That's what I thought to myself, you know. And it's like, anyways, they went on and on, you know. And one of them, you know, the girl that's in AA, she goes, you know, if you ever die, I'm just gonna go spit on your grave, you know, because you're just a drug addict and, you know, an alcoholic, and, you know. And I was like, God, you know, you know what I'm saying is that's not a good deal. And and I told her, you know, but she told me something about, like, I have a son. He's gonna be 13 this month, and she was telling me, you know, you drive drunk, right? Suppose you killed somebody's kid, you know, and at that time, or you know, and I only know today that that's the way I must have thought, that, you know, it didn't matter that I killed somebody else's kid. That I don't think like that, you know. It's like, oh, you know, it happens all the time. That was my answer to her, it happens all the time. And then she said, well, suppose some drunk driver hit your kid, Roque, how would you like it? And I had to sit there and think. I said, you know, I wouldn't like it. It would be pretty screwed up. And I told her I could quit drinking, and she goes, you can. She goes, yeah, quit drinking if I wanted to. And, you know, I told her, and, you know, and she says, all right, you know, if you can quit drinking for 30 days, I'll buy you your first six-pack. I said, oh, all right, whatever, you know, I'll do it. You know, I don't know why I said okay. You know, I didn't think I could do it, but I wasn't gonna let her tell me that, you know. And then she says, well, I gotta go, and she took off. And, you know, I just want to let you know she wanted to drink that night too. You know, she was 12-stepping me, I think. You know, she was a mean AA, I guess. You know, telling me she's gonna spit on my grave. But you know, and I told her, well, how am I gonna prove it to you that I stay sober for that long? And she says, I'll go to the San Fernando group in Silmar behind bonds, and you know, for 30 days, and if you do it, then, you know, I'll believe you. I said, all right, you know. And so, you know, next day, got up, went to work, got off of work, went to the San Fernando group, got there late. I saw Doug there. That's about all. The lights were dim because it was summer. Lights were dim there. All the windows were open. It's hot. I put my head down, didn't hear anything, and I left. I left early because that girl that was on the program called me, and you know, that's the way I started AA. You know, I just started going. Didn't think I could get sober. Didn't really want to get sober, and I just kept on going and going. And next thing you know, I'm like sober 6 months, and it's just happening. And I'm not trying to do anything, you know. But I want to tell you that the only reason I really believe that the only reason I was going to those meetings is because that girl was there, and I wanted what she had, you know. And I did. I got it, you know. And it's not always a good thing. I married her, you know. But I'm sober now for a long time, and we got divorced, you know. But I mean, I still love her, man, and I still love her and stuff. And then, you know, it's just like, that's what, you know, I just kept going. She took me places. She took me to picnics. She took me to sober dances. She took me wherever AA functions were at. She was going, and I was going to go with her, and we'd just hang out. And, you know, and it was like cool, you know, and I started to meet people. I started to actually get involved in the group by buying the supplies at my home group. I started doing stupid stuff like going to GSR with Doug one time. I just started doing weird stuff that I normally wouldn't do. I know Clancy talks about it, and he says that, you know, I started taking actions I didn't think would work, you know, and I did it anyways, you know, you know, I'm just sober totally by the grace of God, because I didn't plan it, I didn't want it that time, and I had, you know, I had really good excuses to get sober. I needed to get sober. My family would have told you that I needed to do something, and quick, you know, because since the age of 13, I started drinking and using drugs until I was 25 when I got sober, you know. I went to, you know, I started drinking at, just with my friends. We'd sniff glue, smoke homegrown, you know. We didn't even know if it was homegrown, I'm sure. We just rolled it up and smoked it, and we thought we were high or something. You know, but later on, I started to steal little bottles of booze from my dad. He'd go to Mexico, and he'd get those little bottles, and he'd have a little bar set up, and I would take him to school, and I would buy some speed, some pills, Robin eggs they were, and I started drinking. I'd take those and drink, pour it in my orange juice, and I'd go through school all loaded, you know. I was only in the 8th grade then. I was like, all through school, and, you know, I started meeting girls that had dope all the time, and they were like, wanted to give it to me, and I was like, cool, you know, and my friends would say, yeah, go get it, and I'm like, well, you know, I don't really like to use people, but, you know, if they're going to give it to me, you know, and so I started doing that, and my friends really liked me then, you know. They're like, man, you're a great guy, man, you can get all this stuff. I was like, yeah, you know, don't sweat it, bro, I got it, you know. And I went on, and it was just having fun, you know. I was just going to school, and, you know, I used to play sports in the 7th, elementary to the 7th grade, because at the 8th grade I stopped. I guess the 9th grade I quit playing sports. I quit playing sports in high school because I couldn't get the grades up to go to high school and play football. But you know, shortly after I started drinking and using pot, you know, my heroes like Jack Lambert from the Pittsburgh Steelers, or, you know, Roger Starbuck, you know, from the Cowboys, people like that, you know, that were my heroes, suddenly changed. I didn't have those people on my wall anymore, you know. I put up Led Zeppelin posters, and the room was dark with purple, you know, the lights and fluorescent lights, and I was listening to Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne, and, you know, Suicidal Tendencies, and I was listening to that kind of stuff. And it was like, what happened? You know, my parents were like, are you listening to the devil in there? You know, I was like, Jesus Christ. You know, but my parents only spoke Spanish to me, so they'd say it in Spanish. I'm Mexican. I know. And you know, and also, you know, before I started drinking, I guess I got to tell you this because I think it's important in my story, that I always felt different. And you probably hear it in a lot of meetings, and I would never admit it when I was using or be around my friends, because I didn't want to tell you that, you know. But where I grew up, in Silmar, there was a lot of white people there, and we were the only Mexicans I mean, we were Spanish speaking, you know. And my parents couldn't speak English, you know, and so I'd go to school, and if there was other Mexicans there, they were my brothers and my sisters, you know. That's how white this neighborhood was. It's not like that anymore. You know, if you're white, it's like, what are you doing in this neighborhood? I mean, you know, it's kind of like that now, you know. But But it was really strange, because my friends would invite me over to their house, and they would be eating like with forks and and they'd have biscuits and stuff like that. But I didn't know how to use those things. I used to eat tortillas all the time, and beans all the time, and you know, and red chili or green chili, but I don't remember ever eating with a fork, or if we had spoons, it was to pour the chili into the beans and stuff like, stuff like that. That's the way I lived, and so when I go, it feels strange, and I always, at Christmas time, it was like these people, man, they had everything for Christmas, man. Not in my house. We had 11 kids, so we didn't really get too much for Christmas, you know. It all depended on what they were giving away at the, whatever, at the center or wherever. My parents didn't have a lot of money, so that's where. So I always, didn't feel like I lived. I matched up to my friends, but I know, that when I was loaded, that it didn't matter. My friends didn't even care. They probably never cared, but at least I felt like they didn't care that I was, that I was just part of the group now. I was cool, blah blah blah. I listened to Jimi Hendrix, whatever, they're all heroes of mine by then, and they're like, they didn't care, it's like, yeah, Roque, you're a good guy, blah blah blah, and I felt part of it, and and I didn't feel awkward, I didn't feel like, like I felt at the time, was that, I was just this poor Mexican kid, who doesn't get much and stuff, and I didn't feel like that, and booze and alcohol, I know it took it away, sniffing glue took it away, sniffing paint, sniffing gas, whatever. If it got me high, I was doing it, and it took it away, and I know that if you feel awkward and stuff, like I did, and something takes that away from you, you probably do anything for it, and I did, and I started to do things that I normally. My parents did not come from Mexico to say, okay, Roque, go out there and mess up your life so that one day you can end up in AA, They didn't say it, they wanted what was best for me. They whooped my ass if I didn't go to school, If I got in trouble, they whooped my ass, and I did, and I got in a lot of trouble. I'd get kicked out of school, I'd get arrested, they'd have to come pick me up, and, after a while, they just gave up on me. They just, do whatever you want, I wasn't going to change, because that dope, man, it just made me feel so good. I had to do it, I didn't care about my family, I didn't care about nothing. I didn't care about school. I went out through school like that, through school. I never graduated from high school, as a result of drinking and using. I have a kid. I told you that it's 13 years old. He's going to be 13 on the 25th of February. I haven't seen him since he was a year and a half years old. And I never, before I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I never written a check. I never knew how to use a bank. I didn't know anything, and I was just existing. I had jobs where I fixed cars, and I owned a car that I couldn't drive because I couldn't put no gas in it, That's what I did with my money. I just spent it all on this stuff, all the time. And it sucked, and I just didn't care, And my family would have gatherings that a few times they told me, one time they were all met at my mom's house, and they said, oh, we're going to go out to breakfast, Roque, but you're not welcome to come. And another time, I remember they're having a barbecue, and I said, Roque, we're having a barbecue, please don't show up, and they just tell me stuff like that, and it was like, at the time it was like my anger would break out. It was like, screw you, who needs you anyways? But it's like, and the deep inside I always told myself, I remember listening to this song, it was probably one of my favorite songs at the time. It says, God, don't let me be misunderstood. I'm just the soul whose intentions are good. I was like, that's the way I live. It's like, man, I didn't mean to do those things. I'm not really like this. If I could quit doing these things, I wouldn't be that way. But they didn't understand, because I kept doing it. I kept making promises I couldn't keep. I just kept drinking, and I just kept losing it, and they just got sick and tired of me, and they didn't invite me out of their life. I chose to do that, I had to. I couldn't get sober, you know. And I mean, with that knowledge that I had about myself, you figure that night that I talked to that girl, I would go to AA, work the steps, and get a sponsor, you know. But I didn't, you know. I just didn't do it. I just didn't think anything would work, and I just kept on, you know. But I'm glad. I'm glad when I came to AA. Best thing I did take steps. I did. I have a sponsor today. You know, I have a sponsor I call every day. You know, because I believe that if I was such, if why, I heard a tape one time. I think this priest said it. He says, you know, the president has a cabinet that advises him on stuff. You know, and you know, he runs the country. He practically runs the superpower, the way he put it. You know, he's the top guy, and he gets advice. And he goes, us alcoholics can't run our own lives, and we don't want to take advice from nobody. And then I thought to myself, God, you know, maybe I should start taking advice from somebody, you know, because, and that's what I do, you know, I call, ask for advice, you know, because I don't know, because I didn't know how to write a check, and I didn't know how to bank, I didn't know how, I never had a car registered in my name, because I was always afraid they were going to take it from me, you know, and, you know, today, I mean, I do those things, those are like, I sometimes take them from granted, you know, and I'm also sometimes shocked at people that don't know how to do those things, but I forget that I never done those things, you know. In AA, I really, you know, I came when I was about 25 years old, you know. I came and you guys taught me how to live. You guys taught me how to do those things, you know, and not necessarily that I asked somebody, hey, how do you do that? It's like I'd be at the meeting, every day I'd be at the meeting, and people would share about it. Well, today I got my car insurance. It's like, wow, car insurance, you know. But it was like a big deal to them, and it was like, wow, I can't even get car insurance, you know. I didn't get a driver's license until I got sober, you know. And you know, a lot of stuff that I have today, it's just because people in AA taught me how to do it, or I heard it at a meeting, and they showed me how to do it, you know. And you know, maybe that's not what you need. I don't know, you know, but that's what I needed, you know. And I'm glad, and you know, I was telling Doug that my wife, my ex-wife, I was talking to her last night. She says, you know, you can stay the night. I said, okay, well, if I stay the night, I'm gonna leave early in the morning because I'm going to a meeting. She says, you know, if you go into a meeting, then don't stay the night. And so, you know, I left, and I said, you know, I'm going to a meeting. It's like, I choose AA over anything, because if I'm not sober, I don't get to have anything, you know. I get to lose whatever's good in my life, you know, anything, you know, here in the meetings, anything that's good and decent in my life, I got in AA, you know, and everything that I am and everything that I ever hope to be is a result of AA. Thanks.